Hey everyone, Mike here, and in this video we're having a detailed look at the Sony Xperia Z1, Sony's latest flagship. This carries on from the Xperia Z and proves that Sony can actually deliver a stylish and sturdy handset with powerful guts, an awesome screen and enough juice to go through the day. Or in other words, the Xperia Z1 is the best Sony smartphone to date. But it is still not perfect, as you'll find out from this review. The Z1 keeps most of the design elements of its predecessor. Glass covers the front and the back faces, but the sides are now crafted from aluminum with a matte finishing. As a result, this phone is perhaps the definition of premium right now. It's sturdy as well, and according to Sony, the glass is scratch-proof, so the Z1 should be durable. After using it for a few days, I did notice some minor scratches on the surface of the screen, but there is in fact a thin film applied on top of the display, so this is the one that got scratched, not the actual glass. Of course, the glass surface is a huge magnet for smudges and fingerprints, and keeping this device clean is a massive chore. But I guess that's just something you'll have to deal with if you want such an elegant smartphone. And indeed it is. Just look at the front face. A perfect sheet of glass with a tiny earpiece on top that hides beneath a fairly bright notification LED and no physical controls whatsoever, as the main Android actions are embedded within the interface. As for the back, well, just the main camera and the flash are piercing the glass here. However, there is one aspect of this phone that I'm not fond of. The Z1 is both larger and heavier than the older Z or the other Android devices in its class, and that makes it quite difficult to use. The phone feels very solid in hand, but actually grabbing it and covering the entire screen with your thumb requires some crazy gymnastics. That's why I advise you to get your hands on this device before buying it, just to make sure you can live with the form factor and the size. That aside, the Z1 is, just like the Z before, IP certified, which translates in water and dust resistance, and that makes it perhaps a good pick for the outdoorsy buyers. Just as long as you don't drop it, of course. Anyway, the Xperia is not really something you can take scuba diving, but it should face just fine a day at the beach, or maybe on the slopes, as winter is just around the corner here. In order to be waterproof, most of the ports on the Z1 are covered by some plastic flaps. I can live with that, especially since the one port that I care a lot about, the headphone jack, is easily accessible. But let's take a moment and have a look around the sides of this Sony handset. On top there's that 3.5mm jack, on the right you'll find the power button, the volume rocker and a dedicated shutter key, plus the SIM tray, while on the left there's the microUSB port and the microSD card reader. The power button is smaller and mushier than it was on the older Z, so you'll have to press it firmly to make it work. Besides that, the speakers, microphones and the earpiece are covered by some membranes, again to keep them safe from liquids, and this has a negative impact. For starters, the speaker is not very loud. Yes, there's only one, placed on the lower edge of the phone, despite the fact that it looks like there are two of them. And you should make sure not to cover it accidentally, especially when using the phone in landscape mode or... this will happen. As for the mics and earpiece, they are alright and the call quality is not bad on the Z1, but the voices, both yours and the one of the other person at the end of the line, sound somewhat weird, muted. Anyway, enough about that, let's have a look at the screen now, which is maybe one of the most stunning I've ever seen on a smartphone so far. We are talking about a 5-inch screen with Full HD 1920 by 1080 pixel resolution and an LCD panel, but it's a higher quality one than it was on the previous Xperia Z. As a result, this display paints vibrant colors and is very bright, while retaining the clarity and the sharpness you're getting with such high-density panels. Sony's Triluminous and X-Reality technologies do help here, and watching movies or playing games on the Z1 is going to be a delight. Of course, the viewing angles are still not perfect, but the content no longer fades away as easily, so you shouldn't be bothered much by this aspect, again, unlike what happened on the older Z. That aside, you should know that the Xperia Z1 is running a fairly clean version of Android 4.2 on top of a Snapdragon 800 chipset, or in other words, the fastest hardware money can buy right now. Speaking of the hardware, the Z1 only comes with 16GB of internal storage, and about 12 of those are available for apps and content, and yes, it supports microSD cards, but if you plan on having many games on your device, that won't help much. Anyway, with a powerful CPU and graphics inside, this phone scores great results in benchmarks and absolutely breezes through everyday activities. In fact, I'm pretty sure that this Z1 is the snappiest Android handset I've ever reviewed. Of course, the software has its role in this as well, as Sony decided to keep it light without many changes and bundled apps. There are some pre-installed applications, mostly Xperia services and doorways to Sony's own content stores, but only a handful of them. As for the interface, it's close to what you're getting with stock Android, as Sony only customized a few aspects. like the lock screen, the notification panel, the themes or the keyboard, and added their small apps, applications that can run in pop-ups on top of the others. All in all, if you're into Android, you'll love how this Xperia feels. It responds instantaneously to your commands, apps are launching in a blink of a second, the browser is fast, and the phone can of course handle movies, music and games. In fact, even the most demanding titles like GTA Vice City were able to run smoothly on this Sony with maximum details. And that's something you're not getting with most other Android handsets. However, you should know that the Z1 gets hot while playing these games, around the Sony logo on the back, and this will lead to unpleasant sweaty hands. Or if you want to see the glass half full, it's going to be appreciated during the cold days that are coming. And by next spring, Sony will have another flagship in stores and you'll be good for an upgrade. Okay, so the Z1 fixes some of the issues I've had with the older Z, the screen, some design quirks and the hardware. Luckily, it does not stop here. It can now actually go through a full day on a charge and even longer with lighter use. That's mostly thanks to the 3000 mAh battery inside. Of course, if you will push the device, the juice will run out very fast. For instance, playing games on maximum brightness drains the battery at a rate of 20% per hour. But like I said, with medium use, the Z1 can easily make it till the end of the day. Anyway, you might have noticed by now the 20.7 megapixel mark near the main camera of this smartphone, and that's no joke. The Z1 comes with a new high-resolution shooter. The CMOS sensor itself is similar to what you find on compact digital cameras, so larger than what most smartphones offer these days. As for the resolution, I'm not going to comment on that, but you should know that you can pick between several different picture sizes from the interface as long as you shoot in manual mode. Speaking of that, the camera interface is fairly neat. You can take pictures and videos from the same screen, you can get filters and a handful of camera modes. Not all of them are useful, but some of them are fun. Regardless, most of you will probably keep the Z1 on Superior Auto, which allows you to take 8 megapixel pictures, but just like with the older Z, the software processing tends to mush up all the details. I was hoping for sharper captures, but this Z1 that I've got to play with fails to meet my expectations. Have a look for yourself and let me know what do you think in the comments below. Anyway, overall I'm not really satisfied with the camera on the Z1. However, Sony launched two external lenses that work with its handset and others as well, and I got to test the more affordable version, the QX10 lens. For about 200 euros, this can turn any phone into a quite capable shooter. Practically, the QX10 is a camera of its own without a body and a screen. With a 10x zoom lens, decent size sensor and image processor. It connects wirelessly to any device, and if your phone supports NFC, pairing them is just a matter of touching the two things together. You have to install an app called Play Memories on your handset, and with it, you can control the QX10 from the phone or just use the phone as a screen. You can also attach the lens to your device, as it comes with an adjustable click-on system, or use it by itself for all sorts of crazy angle shots. As for the results, well, the QX10 takes really good pics in fair light, sharp and detailed, even when using the zoom. In poor light, things get a bit messy, as there's no extra flash and you'll have a hard time getting the lens to focus properly. But if you do manage to get it to work, the results are once again superior to what comes out of most top-tier smartphones. So all in all, I quite enjoyed using the QX10 and I'm seriously considering getting one for myself. It's not perfect and the software needs work, but it is fairly cheap and offers some extras we're for sure not going to get on standard phones in the next years or so. Alright, all these things said lead to one conclusion. The Z1 really is the best smartphone Sony has delivered to date, and unlike its predecessors, it doesn't actually have any massive issues. Yes, the speakers, call quality and even the camera performance could be improved, and the large and heavy body can steer many of you away. But at the end of the day, there is no perfect handset out there, and you'll take some trade-offs no matter what you end up choosing. So what do you guys think about the Xperia Z1? Leave your comments below and make sure to come back in a few days. I'll have more videos on this smartphone as I'm going to compare it with all the other popular Android options like the Galaxy S4 and the HTC One. Anyway, that's about it for now. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you guys later. In the meantime though, make sure to subscribe if you're not already and get crazy with those thumbs up and share buttons if you enjoyed this clip. Bye!